Hello and welcome to the Low Carb Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Holly Jean. I'm joined with Leah today. Hi, Leah.
Hi, Holly. Hi, everyone.
Hi. And we have a guest today with us. We have Catharine Arnston. Hello. Hi, Catharine.
Hey, Holly and Leah. Good to be
Hi.
here.
It's so great to have you on. So, Catharine is the founder, CEO, Chief Scientific Officer of Energy Bits, and an expert in the algae for wellness, nutrition, beauty, biohacking, longevity. It does it all. She does it all. She's nationally recognized as a thought leader. She's a seasoned corporate executive, an experienced entrepreneur. She's sought after speaker. We're so thankful to have her on as a guest today because she really knows her stuff. So we're excited to have this conversation. So let's dive on in.
Hey, Holly. Thank you. I'm blushing with
Yeah.
all those accolades, but yeah, I'm just here to educate people about the most amazing thing that will change your life effortlessly. That's a pretty sweet deal, right?
It is. Okay. That's a big claim. So
It is
we'll
a
get
big
into
claim.
that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So why don't we then start by you telling us about your story? Because you have an interesting story and your sister and how what
Yeah.
happened with her inspired
Sure.
you to start Energy Bits. So why don't we start there? Tell us about
Yeah,
it.
well, because you have to say, somebody who's doing, a specialist in algae. I mean, that's not what you normally would think about as you build your career. And I tell people I didn't choose algae, it chose me. And here's why or how it happened. So as I mentioned before we started recording, I'm actually Canadian, although I've lived in Boston, Massachusetts for 33 years, but my family's all still in Canada and I'm very close to them. And 13 years ago, my younger sister in Toronto developed breast cancer. Now, first of all, I want everyone to know she healed completely and she's celebrating 11 years cancer-free this year. But what happened was, as she was preparing for her chemotherapy, her oncologist, which is a cancer specialist, told her that she needed to change her diet to an alkaline diet. Now, they didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why it was good for her. So the first call she made was to me, her big sister, who loves her. And I'm just a really good researcher. I probably should have gone into the science, but anyways. So I said, hey, I have no idea what an alkaline diet is, but I will find out. And I did. And I just Googled it. And it was basically a plant-based diet because of the chlorophyll and the phytonutrients that are been proven to build your immune system, which she needed a strong immune system to get her through the chemo treatment. So she did change her diet. She did go through chemo. She completely healed. And in the process, I learned a lot about alkaline diets and plant-based diets. Now this was 13 years ago and nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition 13 years ago. So after reading 10 books and about 100 scientific papers, I thought, man, somebody should tell the rest of the world about this. So I'm just a passionate person. I gave up my 25-year corporate career in international marketing. I went back to school, studied nutrition. I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York. And then I taught nutrition. I taught plant-based nutrition for almost a year at corporations and hospitals. And this is what led me to my epiphany that led me to algae. And the epiphany was this, and I'm sure your listeners will appreciate this. Everybody knows they should eat more vegetables. Our mothers have been telling us this for years, but the reality is it's too much work. Vegetables weigh a lot to carry home from the grocery store. You may not live near a grocery store. They take up a lot of room in your fridge. They take a long time to clean, to cook, to eat. There's endless arguments at the dinner table with kids to eat the vegetables, men. And if you're ketogenic, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are, there's carbs in them. And they can cause there's lots of fiber, so which can cause stomach distress, like in people like me. So I thought, okay, people know what they need, but they can't do it. I need to find a way to get them the nutrition that they need without any work. So I look back at everything I found for my sister and nothing was working until I got to algae. And that's when the miracle happened. Because first of all, for your low carb community, algae has 0 carbs. So that's number one. So it's ketogenic, doesn't decrease ketones, does not increase your glucose, is great for diabetics, great for weight loss, great for intermittent fasting. Number 2, it has the highest concentration of protein in the world. It's been endorsed by the United Nations since 1974 as for this reason, as the answer to world hunger. our algae is 64, spirulina is 64% protein. That's 3 times the amount of protein as steak. But once again, it does not stimulate the mTOR pathway, so it doesn't decrease your ketones. So good for the low carb community again. It's also got the highest concentration of nutrients in it in the world. NASA says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits or vegetables. That's 1 to 1,000. And the reason for that is you're going to learn as we talk a little bit more about it. It's, these microalgae, which spirulina and chlorella, are so tiny, you could get 1 million of them to fit on the head of a pin. So when you consolidate all of that rich nutrition into something so tiny, now you start to see why it is so nutrient dense. It's also the most studied food in the world. 2 important things there. First of all, there's 100,000 studies documenting all the benefits we're going to talk about today about algae. I don't say anything if I don't have an NIH article or to back it up. And the other important thing is to know is that algae is not a supplement. It is a food crop. I'm showing you now a picture of a spirulina farm. It's there is algae in the ocean, but our spirulina and chlorella, like almost all spirulina and chlorella, are grown in fresh water. They are not from the ocean. So A, it's not a supplement. B, it's grown in fresh water. So no access to contaminants in lakes, rivers, streams, or whatever. So, and it's been used safely for over 50 years in Asia. It's a multi-billion, that's with a B, multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop there. In Japan, they take chlorella algae every single day. They do not leave their house without it. And they have the best longevity, lowest cancer rates, and great skin and hair. So with all this science supporting algae, with all the great continuous use without a single negative impact, with all this nutrition, all this protein, keto, vegan, easy, and it comes in tiny tablets. So, which is what we sell. These little tiny tablets are about the size of a baby aspirin. So I'm gonna show you one. Each one of these tablets has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables that you didn't have to cook, clean, or eat. So instantly, you get all the nutrition that you need effortlessly. No trips to the grocery store. They never go bad. They are safe for children, newborns, pets, grandparents. This is the answer. This is the food of the future. This is what I call your nutritional insurance, because now when you eat, you can just eat for pleasure, for entertainment, whatever it is that you want, but you will be getting what the nourishment of your cells need for effortless longevity, health. And we're going to dive into the 2 different algae, spirulina and chlorella, because they have different nutrient profiles and they do completely different things in your body. But once I discovered all of this, I thought, okay, I'm going to spend the rest of my life telling people about algae because it's so amazing. It's the most sustainable crop in the world, will be the way to get your nutrients, remove toxins, protect your children and your own health effortlessly. It's the effortless part that is critical here, because people just, they don't want to spend a lot of time. They don't have a lot of time to be in the kitchen making meals. So this is it. This is the answer, and I couldn't live without it myself.
I'm glad that you showed the little tiny pill, and that was going to be my question for you, is like, how much do you need to take? Because like I have these little packs here and it says the serving size is 30 tablets. And I was like, okay, that's a lot of tablets to take. Yeah. But I like that you said, okay, 1 little pill is going to give you like all your veggies.
Yes. So a couple of things. We try not to call them pills because I know they look
okay, like, sorry, not pills, but little tablets.
What do you call them? Tablets? We call them bits because they're bits of nutrition.
Energy bits.
So it's just a type of vegetable that's dried with fresh air, no heat. And then we press them into these little tablets. This one's spirulina, which is the darker one. It's a blue-green algae, so that's why it's darker. And this is chlorella, which is green algae. So I'm on the pouch, and we changed all of the packaging because years ago when we first started 12 years ago, we actually got noticed by athletes, marathon runners, triathletes, Olympic athletes. We had so many Olympic teams that we were fueling that I sent some of my team over to Sochi in Russia, and we had complete invitation to the Canadian and the US Olympic Village. And for those Olympic and elite athletes, they do need 30 tablets at a time to feel energy, because their bodies are so refined, and they know they have lots of muscle and they need lots of nourishment. But now, for the last 7 years, we've been selling really to consumers, and through doctors, functional medicine, chiropractors, and they have, and consumers just needs, something that's going to give them the nourishment they're not getting from all that crappy processed food that's available pretty much everywhere. So on average, we recommend 5 to 10 tablets a day. And if you go on our website, or if you buy a bag, we sell them in large bags of 1,000 tablets. We have a QR code that you can scan, and it will give you some dosage recommendations. So, if you're very anemic and or young or slim, we're just take 2 tablets just to see, how you feel. But you'll notice more from 5 to 10. 10 is probably kind of the average that we're recommending. Now, keep in mind that, and they do different things, and we'll get to that in a minute. But for spirulina, for example, people love having them for intermittent fasting because it doesn't interfere with your intermittent fast.
I was just going to ask that. I was like, that is exactly where my mind was going, was for fasting.
And so you get up in the morning, you throw back 5 or 10, preferably 10, but 5 is fine. And you will not be hungry, tired, fatigued. You'll have focus. You're out the door in seconds. It's no work whatsoever. Now, maybe you are traveling, or you want something that's going to be a meal replacement, then you would probably want closer to 20, because that would satisfy your hunger, because for a longer period of time, it has lots of essential fatty acids in it. And then if you're doing a workout, 15 would be plenty, maybe even 5. But if you're an Olympic athlete, probably closer to the 30. And if you're doing marathons, maybe another 15 every hour. So it's really depends on your body and how you are, your lifestyle. If you're older, we have a lot of elderly customers, and they're not getting any nourishment, especially if you're in a nursing home. If you're not sick when you go into a nursing home, you get sick being there. And my mother was in one, and they feed you just this white mushy stuff. So in that case, maybe 2 or 3 is plenty. But there's so much nutrition that the spirulina, for example, replaces your multivitamin, your fish oil, biotin, CoQ10, magnesium, potassium, and because it has so much protein, it replaces snacks, it replaces sports fuel. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for decluttering your countertop, for number one. And because it's food, your body absorbs 99% of it. It's virtually 100% bioavailable, and we'll get to that in a minute, because it's most supplements are made from extracts that your body can't even recognize. So you absorb very little of it, 5 to 10%. So it's a big waste. And if you have so many bottles that everybody does, they all expire at different times. When you're traveling, it's a pain in the whatever. So I just pack my bag of energy bits and my which is spirulina, and my recovery bits, which are chlorella. I'm good. I don't take anything else ever. So.
And my favorite thing is that there's not a taste. I know I've been hearing of the benefits of spirulina for a long time. I know it's something that we should be consuming because it's good for our health. I bought some like low carb, gluten-free noodles at one of the stores. They were like spirulina noodles. They were just, they went straight into the trash. They made my whole house smell. They were disgusting. Dear. These do not have a taste.
Well, this is the great thing. People asked us, why didn't we do powders? Well, for that very reason, you cannot escape the flavor. When you swallow these tablets, there is no repeat. I tried for years to take fish oil, and man, I was burping that stuff up for hours, days, sometimes. It just made me sick. Never happens with algae. And by the way, I remind people, where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from that's in the fish oil? They get it from algae. They just consolidate it. So skip the middleman, go right to the source, and get the algae. By the way, most fish oil is rancid by the time you buy it. Right. And algae never goes bad. We do have to put an expiry date on it. It's usually 2 or 3 years, but algae is a very interesting crop. Other crops like corn or wheat, when the growing conditions deteriorate, like there's not enough sun or water, the plant dies, right? Tomatoes, everything dies, not algae. It will go dormant indefinitely until the growing conditions return. And an example of that is I read about a National Geographic team that went up to the Antarctic, and they took some ice chips and they carbon dated them to be like about 3 billion years old. There was a bit of algae in one of them. So they just, out of curiosity, they brought it back to the lab, threw it in a petri dish with some water, boom, the thing started growing again. So same thing happens when we dry them and put them in our bags. You could have them for 10 years. We have preppers who buy them for that reason. And when we're bigger, my dream is to, airlift this stuff to disaster areas. I mean, if we were bigger, I'd be sending this stuff over to Ukraine right now, because it could last forever. You could put it in a warehouse and just feed people. That's the other goal. As I said, United Nations in 1974 had a global conference on spirulina algae and declared it the answer to world hunger in 1974. And not much has really happened since then. So, we have big plans to get this stuff to where it needs to be feeding people.
So tell me a little bit about the growing process. Like, what are the conditions needed to grow algae?
Well, it's so, and I do want to be sure we cover the differences between the two algae, but
okay, yeah, we can hit that next, because I know Leah has an article. Why don't you just touch a little bit on, you tell me what's better, because maybe that answers both questions.
Well, it does a little bit. That's a good point. So let me just quickly touch on the two algae. So spirulina is a blue-green algae, and chlorella is a green algae. But they're both in the category of algae. Algae is a food category. You have fruits and you have vegetables, and algae is its own category because it's neither a fruit or a vegetable. And so within algae as a category, you have two subcategories. One is macroalgae and the other is microalgae. We're pretty much talking about microalgae, but let me tell you what macroalgae is. It's that big stringy stuff that washes up on shore, also known as seaweed or dulse or kelp. And it comes from the ocean. That's why it's called seaweed. Now, seaweed's good for you because it has iodine in it and fiber, but it has virtually no nutrients. So still good stuff, but yeah, that's what we're not talking about. And we're talking about microalgae, which is called microalgae because it's microscopic in size. As I mentioned at the very beginning, 1 million of these microalgae could fit on the head of a pin. That's how tiny they are. And unlike seaweed, which is only in the sea, microalgae is everywhere. It's in the oceans, it's in lakes, rivers, streams, the soil, your swimming pool, your aquarium, it's everywhere. But the two that are harvested primarily as food for large consumption are spirulina and chlorella. So those are the two we're going to talk about right now. So spirulina is a blue-green algae, and it is grown in they grow it in long, narrow, they're called runways. They're very shallow. We triple filtered the water, and spirulina grows in a spiral, which is why they're long and narrow. So they started at one end, and then it grows it takes about a month to grow, and then it's harvested. It kind of looks like seaweed, and then we air dry it. Now here's the really important part for both of them. We air dry it without high heat. And we're probably the only company, or one of the few, I don't know anybody else that does this. Everybody else is you can find much less expensive algae on Amazon or anywhere, but they all use high heat because they're low priced, and so they have to get to market quickly. I only started the company to help people be healthy because of my sister's cancer. So when we were setting up the farm, I said, well, I want all the enzymes intact, so no high heat. So our algae, unlike everybody else's, is a raw food. It's still ketogenic and it's still vegan, but it's a raw food. And when we talk about some of the benefits in a minute, you'll see how important that is. So after it's air dried without high heat, then we have it pressed into these little tablets like this, that you could grind up and put in a smoothie if you like the flavor, or you can just swallow them. I chew them. They're completely chewable because they are bits of food. But that's spirulina. Chlorella is similar, but there's two main differences. One is chlorella, and I'll get to the benefits in a second. Chlorella is grown in round ponds because it puffs out like a bloom. So that's number one. And there's 2 extra steps with chlorella. It has to start in a test tube in a lab until it's grown to a certain size, and then it can be moved out into the pond, the triple filtered spring mountain water pond. It's just a much more complicated crop to grow. And the Japanese took 10 years to figure out how to grow it. That's why all the algae is in Asia, because the Japanese initiated all the growing techniques back in the late 50s or late 50s, pretty much. So it starts in a lab, and then it gets moved over. And then the extra piece does not happen to spirulina is because spirulina is technically, and we'll talk about this in a second, a bacteria. It does not have a cellulose wall. So there is 0 fiber. This is why it's safe enough for newborns, because there's 0 fiber. Pets, grandparents, anybody who has digestive issues, this is your answer. This is the easiest food in the world to digest because there's 0 fiber to get into your bloodstream. So it literally almost bypasses digestion because it gets so rapidly absorbed. But chlorella has the hardest cell wall in the plant kingdom. And so that cell wall needs to be cracked at production, and or your body could not absorb the nutrients in it. Now we'll talk about how that hard cell wall attaches to toxins and chelates everything from lead, mercury out, and even alcohol. But anyways, that hard cell wall has to be cracked. Now, the original company that developed chlorella growing is called Sun Chlorella, and and I'm grateful for them because they initiated the whole chlorella algae movement back in the 50s, and they patented the technique to crack the chlorella, which is they crack it, they tumble it with glass beads. Now, the problem is the glass heats up and lead from the glass leaks into the chlorella. Now, almost everybody uses their technique because it was the most common one, and people just needed the product. Again, they low price, get it to market. But when I learned about the lead, I said, well, that's not going to work for me. So we searched and found a new, more modern, more expensive technique to crack the chlorella, which is what we use. And that technique is we pass the chlorella through a sound chamber, and it's the vibrations that crack the cell wall. So that's an extra step in our production that is not necessary for spirulina, but it also separates us from everybody else because, and we do third-party lab tests to prove there's no lead or any other toxins in our product, because we sell, like I said, through functional medicine. So they literally prescribe our algae to their patients. We have over 500 nationwide. So it's very, very important that they find something that's clean, and our algae is the cleanest. So that our growing techniques really stand us out from the rest. And the other thing that makes us quite different is we are so focused on education. I've written about 500 papers on algae to help people understand what it does, why it does what it does, and we'll talk about some of those benefits in a minute. And there is no one else in North America, possibly the world, doing that. And I've spent 12 years going through thousands and thousands and thousands of studies, so I can recap them in ways that help your average consumer understand what this is. Because if you don't understand something, you don't know whether it's working or why it's working and why you need it. And I'm here to tell you all the whys.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, is the understanding. So thank you. And I'm glad you brought up the production part, because that's something we talk about on the show a lot. Is just because something's not listed on the ingredient list doesn't mean it's not there, because there are so many things that can happen during production that contaminate things. That was really interesting. Thank you. Leah, you had something to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, this is really so fascinating. I didn't know there was so much to it. And even the general population probably that is just interested in algae hasn't really even heard all the goings on behind it. And I just think that, definitely need to tell more people. So why don't you tell us the benefits then? Sure. Like, let's get into that. So okay. Now you've told us all about it. It's so fascinating. Like, why do I need to take it?
Well, here's why we all need this. Our soils are so damaged in North America, probably Australia, but I don't know, frankly, about Australia, but certainly North America, from overcropping, glyphosate. And so our whatever we're growing in the soil is no longer nutritious because there's no minerals for the plants to pull up. And then also we're importing food from far, far away. So they are harvested far before they are ripe. And all the enzymes and nutrients aren't there. So by the time they get, on a cargo ship and then put in a warehouse and then put in the grocery store and then get to, like, they've lost most nutrition. So that's number one. Number two is we are so surrounded by toxins now. We did a study recently, just wrote a blog. The average adult has 700 toxins in their body, and our immune systems were not built to sustain that kind of heavy toxic load. So the two combinations of not enough nutrients and too many toxins is a perfect storm for disease. It's causing everyone to, and it manifests differently depending on your genealogy, where you live. It could be Alzheimer's, it could be fatigue, it could be heart disease, it could be cancer, it could be some combination of it. So, and it's getting worse, and we're surrounded by garbage food, full of carbs, full of sugar, full of crappy canola oil, which is inflammatory. And, people have very few, options to find healthy food that is not only nutritious, but easy and fast. And so, algae is the ultimate fast food. As I mentioned, you can just swallow it and you're good to go. So I'm here to help people be healthy again. And when I saw the nutrient profile of algae and saw how easy it was to take, I thought this is the answer. Number one, there are zero contaminants, chemicals used. It's grown in fresh water, like I mentioned. So that's number one. It's the cleanest food in the world. Spirulina, we call ours energy bits because spirulina has been known for decades as an energizing superfood. And I hate to use the word superfood because it's so overused, but so I call it a super duper food. So how does it give you energy? I used to get heckled because I would speak at triathlon clubs, and I would say, because there's only 1 calorie per tablet, and they would say, well, how can I get energy from something that's got 1 calorie? It's not the calories it's giving you the energy, it's the nutrients that are in here and the magical formulation, thanks to Mother Nature, that meet all the biological needs of your body. So let's go through a few of them. Number one, as I mentioned, it has the highest concentration of protein in the world. Now, most people may know that your body can't absorb protein in that format. It has to break it down into amino acids first. And so that can take up to 3 days with animal protein, and you may only absorb 10% of it as amino acids. But with algae, it's already in amino acid form, so there is zero work for your body to do. So you actually get back, it's like a free deposit, you get energy back because you didn't have to expend any for digestion. Number two, it's and regarding those aminos, it has 18 of the 20, including all 9 that your body cannot make. So it's a complete protein. Number two, as I mentioned, spirulina is a bacteria, so no cellulose wall to break down to get access to those aminos, and it is loaded with all the B vitamins. B vitamins are what convert glucose or protein into energy. So it's automatically absorbed and instantly converted to a format that is energizing to your body at a cellular level. It's releases nitric oxide, which is what's called a vasodilator, which opens up your blood vessels. And this allows your blood to flow faster so that you get more oxygen and more nutrients to your brain and to your cells. And that gives you energy. Algae spirulina has boron in it, which is important for the synapses to function properly, so that it facilitates coordination. So that gives you focus, because it's not just physical energy, it's mental focus as well. And it's loaded with essential fatty acids, including omega-3, which facilitate brain thought and reduce inflammation and keeps your cellular walls nourished so they can allow nutrients in and toxins out. So and it has 40 other vitamins and minerals, but those are some of the key reasons, basic reasons why it gives you energy. Now, I have recently discovered probably the most important thing about spirulina and its ability to give you energy. And this is going to require a little bit of patience on your end, because I have to get a little geeky on you, but I will try to make this as painless as possible. So science is realizing, we've been learning recently that all illness comes from inflammation. But if you go even further than that, all illness is related to mitochondria disease, mitochondria damage. And you say to yourself, well, what the heck are mitochondria? Well, they call them organelles. They're these little teeny tiny little things that are in your cells that generate what's energy for your body, for your metabolism. It's called ATP, and it energizes everything: how you breathe, how you think, how you sleep, your digestion. Everything that happens in your body is because of the operation of these mitochondria that generate energy. Now, just to show you how important this is, there are 2 million mitochondria in each cell in your brain. Think about it. 2 million in each cell in your brain. There's 5,000 in each cell of your heart or any muscle group, but they're realizing now Alzheimer's is a mitochondrial disease because of this situation with your brain. So if you had any doubt that mitochondria were important, let me tell you, it's everything. But here's the problem. Those mitochondria and the DNA for your mitochondria are exactly at the location where the ATP is produced. And your mitochondria DNA control everything. They're realizing they control everything. They control your DNA. They control your cellular communication. I tell people, they're like the air traffic controllers. They control everything. And so when your DNA, your mitochondria DNA get damaged, it's like your air controllers, falling off their chair and planes start crashing. So the problem is your mitochondria DNA are being damaged every single second. They have a lifespan of 10 days, an average lifespan of 10 days versus your regular DNA, which is a lifetime. Why are they getting damaged and at such risk? Because they are exactly where the ATP is produced. And when ATP is produced, it creates free radicals. If you've ever sat near a bonfire or in your fireplace, sparks fly out, right? You could get on fire if you get too close to the bonfire. Well, your mitochondrial DNA are sitting right in the front row of that bonfire where the ATP is produced, and they are getting shot at by sparks called free radicals every nanosecond. And so the poor things are damaged and deadly. And when they're damaged, that's what causes cellular communications to fail. That's what causes inflammation. This is where all disease happens. And here's the other problem. Those little mitochondria DNA there's 2 layers of cell walls. Almost every other cell in your body has one porous cell wall. And so stuff can get in and get out. Not mitochondria. They're like in the ICE unit. They're in lockdown, and only a few free radicals can make their way into that ICE unit. And one of them is chlorophyll, and another one is found in spirulina. It's the highest concentration of this antioxidant in the world. It's a mouthful. It's called superoxide dismutase, because the type of free radical that's produced during this ATP production is called superoxide. So this superoxide dismutase is like the fire department. They put out the fire of all those free radicals to protect your mitochondria DNA from being damaged. And it's the only thing one of the few things that can get in there to protect you. And so spirulina has the highest. In fact, they did a study and they found that even when you gave people like 100 units of superoxide dismutase, within weeks, their anxiety, their depression, their fatigue disappeared. And we have 3,000 units of superoxide dismutase in every one of these tablets, and yet only 100 made a huge change. This is the main reason why you get energy from spirulina. because at the mitochondria level, it's protecting them so they can do their job for you, so they can give you energy mentally and physically. And I always knew about superoxide dismutase, but it was only in the last few months I did a deep dive in the science, and I was blown away by what I found. Because our bodies will create superoxide dismutase, but after about the age of 20, it drops and drops and drops and drops. And by the time you're 50 or 60, there's virtually zero being produced. And it's virtually impossible to find in foods. And the little bit that does exist gets damaged in the digestion process. But it works with spirulina because spirulina is a bacteria and it gets absorbed instantly and literally bypasses digestion. So it shoots all that great superoxide dismutase into your mitochondria to protect you. Now, I know that was a lot of science, but I will send you a link to a presentation I give with lots of pretty pictures and cute stuff to help you understand it, because this is where all the science research on longevity is all about mitochondrial health. And I'm so grateful that I discovered this amazing thing about superoxide dismutase, so that I can help people understand why this stuff works so well. And here's the other amazing thing. The reason why ours works so well is because we don't use high heat to dry our algae. And I didn't realize how important that was until literally 6 weeks ago, because superoxide dismutase is an enzyme. So all those other spirulina companies that are rushing their product to market, maybe they had superoxide dismutase there at the beginning, but there's nothing there now. And they're shooting blanks because the high heat kills it. So can't do anything for you. So the only other way you could get active superoxide dismutase from spirulina is from raw spirulina. There are a few companies that sell it frozen. And so that's also a safe way to ensure you're getting your superoxide dismutase. I know it's such a big, they call
I
it
bet
SOD.
that tastes great.
Yeah. So, and the trouble is you can't travel with that, and it's messy and it's expensive and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I know that was a lot to take in. So as long as you just know that spirulina is energizing to your body, it absorbed instantly, safe for every age group, and you can take as few or as many as you want. That's probably enough to know.
Great. No, that was fascinating. And it's such a brilliant description to really help understand how that whole process works with the mitochondria and the ATP and the free radicals, because that can get very complicated and confusing. And you made it very visual and easy to understand. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, when I first started this, I kept saying to the universe, find somebody else to explain this, because I don't have a science background. But in retrospect, I am the perfect person, because I was exactly where your listeners are now 12 years ago. I knew nothing about science. I'm completely self-taught. I have the equivalent of a PhD in cellular biology, because I had to learn why this worked. And I fortunately like reading the science. But yeah, if you go online and you Google mitochondria, man, there's thousands and thousands of science papers and graphics and design, and it's scary. You think, where do I even start? So I do take a lot of pride helping people understand complicated concepts with something that might resonate with them. So thank you.
Yeah, that's a gift.
Yeah. So the other algae is chlorella. Remember, so we just talked about spirulina, very energizing blue-green algae, two pigments in it. And the chlorella, remember I said spirulina has the highest protein in the world? Well, chlorella has the highest chlorophyll in the world. And you may say, well, what's so important about chlorophyll? Well, there's a couple of really important things. First, I want to show you this. This is a picture that shows the chemical composition of your hemoglobin, your red blood cells. And this is the chemical composition of chlorophyll. And you'll notice that they're virtually identical. It's because they are. The only difference is your hemoglobin has iron in it in the middle, and that's what carries oxygen. And in chlorophyll, it's magnesium. This is why chlorophyll has been used for centuries for healing people. They used it even as recently as World War II. When they ran out of blood for transfusions, they would give the injured a liquid chlorophyll because it would build their blood and they would heal just as fast as if they'd had a blood transfusion. And when you have healthy blood, you're going to have a healthier body, a healthy brain, healthier digestion. Everything just works better when you have healthy blood. And the good thing again with chlorella, 0 carbs. So you can get all these great nutrients, and our vegetables my arugula was going yellow after day 2. I just stopped buying it. And so I'm sure other people have the same problem. So that's number 1. Chlorophyll is very important for your blood. Number 2 is I'm going to show you something else that's kind of fun. I'm like a mad scientist, right? So spirulina, like I said, is a blue-green algae. And so I would put it in a plate with water. And this is the gorgeous blue color that would come out of it. That's the blue pigment. Now, when I did the same thing with the chlorella, it's just got chlorophyll in it. So it would just be green, but it would clump. And I kept saying, why aren't you dispersing like your brother over here? What's the clumping about? And then I finally, after doing this 20 times, I went online and I validated it. Chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. The blue pigment in spirulina is a water-based pigment. This is why it helps heal blood vessels, stops growth of tumors, or blood vessels of tumors and blood. But because this is a fat-based pigment, this helps heal your cell walls. Remember how I said, healthy fats like A and D and omega-3 are necessary because you need your cell wall to be permeable so nutrients can get in and toxins can get out. And chlorophyll is one of those nutrients because it's fat-based that does that. And so the best way I help people understand this is I say, when your windows are dirty, you can't see out and sunlight can't get in. And so think of chlorophyll as window washers for your cell walls. It makes everything work so nutrients can get in and toxins can get out. And that keeps your cell at a proper pH, slightly alkaline pH, 7.1, which ensures lots of oxygen, which ensures lots of health for the mitochondria and everything else that's going in there. So those are 2 main attributes of chlorophyll. Now, chlorella has the highest concentration of chlorophyll in the world, 500 times more than arugula, 25 times more than even liquid chlorophyll. So it's very, very healing. Chlorella algae is a wellness algae. Spirulina is an energizing algae. Chlorella is a health and wellness algae. And we call ours recovery bits because it helps you recover your health or recover from sports or recover even from anything because it has that hard cell wall that attaches to toxins. So that hard cell will pull out lead, mercury, radiation, aluminum, alcohol, lactic acid. Athletes take it after a workout to pull out lactic acid. If you take this after drinking alcohol, wine, beer, doesn't matter, you will be sober in an hour and a half and never have a hangover. We work with biological dentists who use it to pull out mercury when they pull out fillings because there's fumes from the mercury that both they and the patient might be exposed to. So, and United Nations, they used it at Chernobyl many years ago to pull out radiation from the people that were there, exposed to it. So chlorella is a wellness algae. And so it's the chlorophyll, it's the hard cell wall, and then it's all the other healing nutrients that are in there. It does have 60% protein. It does still have 40 vitamins and minerals, but it has amazing ones like it has the highest RNA and DNA in the world. And as you age, that gets damaged. So this helps build back your healthy RNA and DNA. It has a vitamin called K2 that moves excess calcium out of soft tissue and into your bones. So people may not be very familiar with K2. It's only discovered 25 years ago. It's related to K1, but we don't have the bacteria that convert K1 to K2, only animals do. So K2, lots of heart disease is called arteriosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries. And what's hardening is the calcium because we don't have K2 in our diet anymore. So chlorella has the daily requirement of K2, which will move that calcium out of your blood vessels and into your bones. It moves it out of your brain and into your bones. It moves it out of your skin. That's why I don't have any wrinkles. I eat so much of this stuff. So it's very healing that way. Chlorella also has zinc. It has every vitamin and nutrient that your immune system needs to protect you. So it's the easiest, healthiest way. And because it has so much chlorophyll and it has fiber, It's a replacement for vegetables. So you never have to eat another vegetable if you don't want to. It's got all the nutrients that you need. It's great for carnivores, keto, people that just have, I have problems digesting fiber. It gives me gas as you get older. A lot of people have the same problem. Kids don't like eating vegetables. This is your answer. And you could have 2, 5, 10, as many as you want. This one actually tastes a lot better than the spirulina. I eat it with macadamia nuts, which are ketogenic, or pistachios, and it's delicious. But we generally recommend you take it before going to bed. You can take it any time of day, but definitely before bed, because when you're sleeping, your body goes through a detox and repair cycle. So if you have chlorella in your body while that's happening, it's like having the cleanup crew in there. You're getting your beauty rest. You got the cleanup crew getting rid of toxins, helping with it stimulates peristalsis, also known as a bowel movement. It has the highest amount of tryptophan in the world, so it facilitates sleep because it's a precursor to melatonin and serotonin. So very, very, very good to have as a bedtime snack. And if you've had any wine or workouts, or we've always been exposed to toxins throughout the day, this will get rid of it. So the best way to describe it to people is it's like giving your body a shower from the inside. We have a shower on the outside every morning. Just give your body a shower on the inside at night. Spirulina is an energizing algae. You have it in the morning, afternoon, for snacks, for workouts, anytime you need to think, great for kids for their sports. And then take this one at nighttime.
That's definitely very interesting. A lot of information there. And you've just about answered any question I had on algae and the benefits between the microalgae there. And I think the algae is working very well for you. Your brain is on fire.
Well, you know
I
what?
love it.
Especially, I'm 65. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I am the living proof that this stuff works. And I started sharing I'm actually 65 and a half, started sharing my age with people because nobody, they generally think I'm sort of 40-ish, but no, I'm way older. I'm a baby boomer, and I have the soul of a millennial, but I do have the birth certificate of a baby boomer. And there is no reason why everybody else can't feel this great. And I put in 12-hour days, 7 days a week. In fact, I was at 3 trade shows in a row, back to back, cryotherapy, biohacking, and a marketing one. And I spoke at all of them and exhibited at them, and got home and just kept going. So.
Well, you're a true testament to the energy bits for sure. Well, it's been so great talking to you. Holly, do you have anything further you want to ask or?
No, I mean, like Leah said, you covered it all. That was amazing. Very efficient.
Well, I'm very passionate because I want people to be able to improve their health, improve their longevity, look after their children, not worry about food. And, nutrition's become political, the carnivores fighting with the vegans. Algae likes everybody. It works with everybody, every choice.
Algae is the peacemaker.
It's like Switzerland, right?
Switzerland.
Yeah.
So,
love it.
And you can take as much or as little as you want. We sell it in large bags of 1,000 tablets. But again, I want to show you this graphic that, you'll get this much nutrition in every single one of these, and no carbs in this one does, no effort, no work, no carrying home from the grocery store. You could keep it for years, no spoilage, nothing, safe for children, kids, pets. It's really the safest, easiest way to get your nourishment. And I don't want people to have sticker shock when they go to our website, because we sell them in large bags with 1,000 tablets. But I use that quote from NASA that says 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables. So I did the math based on the weight of our bag, and each bag, which we sell for $125, but we have a 20% discount code for your community low carb that brings it down to 100. Each bag has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. Now at $3 a pound, that would have been about $1,500. but also it's 551 pounds that you didn't have to carry home from the grocery store, throw out when they went bad, fight with your kids to eat, clean or cook or eat. You can't travel. We're starting to travel now. You can't very well throw broccoli in your, carry-on bag, but these come in small pouches. You can buy those too. So it's really effortless nutrition. And as I said earlier, I call it your nutrition insurance, so that what you do eat is because of your choice, not because of your need. Algae meets your needs, and it's all science backed. 100,000 is a big number of studies.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my kids are going to love you. No more vegetables.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
I was
going to say, we're going to link up for our listeners the code so they can go and explore it some more and get that great discount that you're offering for them. So we'll make sure that's in the show notes for them.
Excellent.
And how about where's the best way if people want to reach out and know a little bit more?
Yeah. So our website is energybits.com, ENERGY, B for boy, IT for Tom, S for Sam, energybits.com. And we do a really deep dive blog every month. This month's about sustainability because of Earth Day coming up, but really well-researched science, links to science. We're also very active on social. Energy Bits is our handle for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and Pinterest. We also have a second handle on Instagram for Beauty Bits, which is is another version, packaged version of our spirulina. I found women didn't like the blue packaging, and I started the company because of my sister. So I made a second version, and it does have more collagen than collagen powder. So it's really good for your skin and hair. So we basically have a girl spirulina and a boy spirulina.
So lovely.
Whatever makes you, happy, but
they're the same ingredients, just different packaging.
Correct.
It's the same exact thing. Okay.
Yes. The one that you have in your hand, the Vitality, but it's a blended tablet. It's 50% spirulina and 50% chlorella.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Beauty Bits and the Energy Bits are exactly the same. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not trying to trick anybody. I just want people to feel healthy. So, and if you're in America and you don't want to buy the whole bag of 1,000 tablets, we do have a sample pack that you can purchase, and the discount code low carb works on the sample pack. Or if you're in the US, we sell single pouches for $5 on Amazon, and you can try those out. And there's 30 tablets in a pouch. So if you took 10 a day, that would last you 3 days. You'll notice the spirulina improving your energy and reducing your hunger like within 20 minutes. You don't have to wait a long time to feel the benefits. And then come back to the website and use the low carb 20% discount code. So
that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that information with us. I've certainly learned a lot more today, and I'm sure our listeners have as well. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, that's the end of today's episode. Our theme music is created by Andrew Bowden, and production services are by Kevin Kennedy Spain of Disc of Light Media. Have a great week, everyone.